In the headlines, Presidential Election Tribunal dismisses petition against President-elect Bola Tinubu. Nigeria Immigration Service blames CBN for passport scarcity. Court bars NBC from fine imposition on broadcast stations. And on the international scene, Tunisia launches investigation after several killed in shooting near synagogue. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Update. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thank you for joining us. Now the news in full. The Presidential Election Petition Tribunal has adjourned hearing on the Labour Party suit challenging the election of the President-elect Bola Tinubu to May 17th. The adjournment followed the unanimous agreement counsel to the petitioners and the first, second and third respondents for the hearing to be adjourned till the 17th in order for the lawyers to agree on documents that will be tendered to aid easy hearing. Noel Sampson, who was present at the court, has report.
Present at the court was the Labour Party presidential candidate Peter Obi, who is the first petitioner, and Labour Party represented by Obiora Ifo, the National Publicity Secretary of the party, as the second petitioner. However, counsel to the petitioners and the first, second and third respondent unanimously agreed to adjourn the hearing to Wednesday next week.
Counsel to the petitioners, counsel to the respondents, all agreed that instead of having this matter adjourned to tomorrow, Friday, come back adjourn, the best thing is for us to file all the applications, serve parties, and then come back Wednesday next week, the 17th. We are asking that the Honorable Court should allow live streaming and broadcasting of the proceedings of the court from day to day, whenever the court is sitting. Because it was something introduced by the colonial masters, but they have moved on, and we are still in the ancient age. So we feel that we should depart from that and adopt modernity, because some African countries are now live streaming their proceedings. I don't see why Nigeria shouldn't. So that was why we filed this application, so that it would be just a matter of you hanging out here. You can come in if the court allows it, if the court grants it. I mean, some of you, as much as the court can accommodate, will come in with their cameras and be filming the proceedings in real time.
Meanwhile, earlier in the morning, a group of young Nigerians gathered close to the appeal court where the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal hearing is holding to show support for the judges involved and to stand against those trying to intimidate them.
I'm happy that they have all come to the court. The roads are free. But if we see anybody on the road trying to intimidate judges, we'll confront them. It's our country.
Nigerians are hopeful that the outcome of the court proceedings will reflect the will of the people as represented in the February 25th ballot. Noel Sampson, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Some aspirants for the 10th House of Representatives Speaker have formed a united front against the APC's choice, Tajuddin Abbas from Northwest as Speaker and Benjamin Kalu from Southeast as Deputy Speaker. The aspirants resolved to defy the party's zoning after a meeting of the leading contestants in Abuja. The move is coming against the backdrop of the ratification of the choice by the National Working Committee of the party on Monday. The chairman of the House Committee on Appropriation, Aliyu Betara, Majority Leader Ado Doguwa, and Deputy Speaker Idris Wase have declared intention to contest for the office of the Speaker in the 10th National Assembly. Betara had accused the incumbent Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, of sponsoring Tajuddin Abbas, whom he described as unpopular in the House against other aspirants in the race. Yusuf Gagdi, another contestant, said members had the prerogative to choose their leader, adding that it would be unjust that the party jettisoned the North Central, which gave the party a huge vote. The Nigeria Immigration Service and a firm contracted by the federal government for the production of Nigeria passports, Iris Smart Technologies Limited, have blamed the Central Bank of Nigeria's foreign exchange policy for the scarcity of booklets. They made the allegation when they both appeared before the House of Representatives Ad Hoc Committee investigating the proposed domestication and processing of the Nigerian international passports. The firm also accused the Nigerian Security Printing and Minting Company PLC of sabotaging its efforts after failing to secure the contract for the production of the passports. The report.
Since 2015, thousands of Nigerians in the diaspora and at home have applied for, paid for, and have been captured, but are yet to be issued their international passport booklets. The House is concerned that Nigeria does not produce its own passports, despite owning a minting and printing company. The firm contracted by the federal government for the production of Nigerian passports told the ad hoc committee that prior to their engagement by the federal government, the country had a shabby passport administration.
The government discarded those booklets because they were substandard and didn't meet ICAO standards, and then decided to have an international tender for the production and embedding of chips. 5 companies were invited. 3 foreign companies, Security and Printing, and ourselves to submit bids. When the bids were analyzed, Security and Printing Company bids were found to be technically incompetent. They were the most expensive.
The ad hoc committee also grilled the Controller General of the Nigeria Immigration Service, Idris Jere, at its investigative hearing. Idris said the NIS does not have access to the forex it generates and attributed the shortage of booklets to the unavailability of foreign exchange from the CBN to aid production outside the country. The NIS boss also decried the absence of a producing factory in Nigeria, noting that the travel document is produced abroad.
3. Scarce foreign exchange. Due to dwindling government foreign revenue earnings, mainly because of continued fall in value of Naira, coupled with the inability of service to access dollar component from the contract agreements. The committee may wish to know that all our foreign revenue earnings that comes in dollar components goes direct to JP Morgan account. We don't access it. We sell passport outside, we don't get cover. So the local revenue we utilize to fund the foreign operations.
The ad hoc committee is expected to meet with the CBN on issues raised as more Nigerians continue to apply for their passports, despite the fact that they may not get it anytime soon.
An unspecified number of children were said to have died in Gusau, the Zamfara state capital, in a boat mishap when the victims were returning from where they went to look for water. According to the relatives of the victims, the recent water scarcity that has made vendors increase the price of jerrycan has forced residents to go the extra mile in search of water. The report.
Last Sunday was a black day for residents of Tulukawa community in Gusau local government area of the state, as they lost an unspecified number of their children to death in the boat mishap when they were returning home from where they have gone to look for water for domestic use. Though some witness accounts said 7 dead bodies were recovered, others said the number of those who lost their lives in the incident were more than 7. Muhammad Yusuf lost 2 of his children, a daughter identified as Zainab, a 17-year-old whose dowry has been paid, and a wedding fixed after next Salah celebration, and a 12-year-old son, Aliyu. He said he was devastated over the harrowing incident that happened to his children as a result of lack of water for domestic use.
He wants the state government to address the problem of perennial shortage of water in Gusau metropolis to avert this kind of situation, saying that it was because their children went far away to place to look for water that the tragedy befell them.
To jarka ne a ɗari babu ma ruwan da za ka samu ka siye na kuɗi babu.
There is ugly incident that happened to me because of problem of water. These are community, even water vendors do not have water that one can buy. Even with your own money, you can't get water to buy. No borehole and not even well water. A relative of Zainab and Aliyu equally said they are pained because of the tragic incident which claimed the lives of two of her siblings and other children in the neighborhood due to the challenge of accessing water in Gusau metropolis. She lamented that they do not have well or borehole and called on the government to show empathy to them by providing borehole to the affected community so that they can access water with ease. Two of the victims of the boat mishap are my younger ones because of this hard economic situation which compelled us to send our children to go and look for water. Shawulu Hassan, one of those who rescued the victims, narrated what transpired.
We saw
the boat. It was heavily loaded with load and people with water on their heads that resulted to it capsizing. When we noticed the boat capsize, we ran to help rescue the victims. We recovered 7 bodies and 6 persons alive. For some weeks now, some residents in Gusau metropolis have been suffering from shortage of water supply, and vendors of the commodity have increased the price from 50 naira to 70 or 100 naira, which made it difficult for people to afford due to the economic situation of the country.
Operatives of the Delta State Police Command have arrested 2 suspects allegedly supplying arms to kidnappers, armed robbers, and cultists in the state. The public relations officer of the command, Bright Edafe, disclosed this in a statement made available to newsmen in Asaba. Edafe named the suspects as Chinedu Enonmo, 37, and Donatus Ndukan, 34. He said the suspects are from Akere Ogidi in Ogbaru local government area and Orom Sit community in Akwa North local government area of Anambra State, respectively. He said one of the suspects, Chinedu Enenmo, was arrested in his hideout in one of the popular hotels in Asaba, where they hibernate and carry out their nefarious activities, while Donatus Ndukan, whom he described as his boss, was arrested in Fige area of Onitsha in Anambra State. He added that 250 rounds of live cartridges was recovered from the suspects. There was a fire outbreak in the early hours of Wednesday at the Nigerian Air Force Base along Airport Road in the Federal Capital Territory. The cause of the incident, which caused panic among residents and workers of the area, was yet to be ascertained as at the press time. An official of the force who confirmed the development told Daily Trust correspondent that the fire has been put out by the combined efforts of the force and the Federal Fire Service. The military base located beside the Nigerian Correctional Service National Headquarters is along the main road to the Nnamdi Azikiwe International Airport. Meanwhile, the police in Edo State have arrested officials of the Nigerian Navy and the Nigerian Correctional Service for alleged armed robbery and car snatching in the state. Parading the suspects in Benin on Tuesday, the State Police Command, the State Police Public Relations Officer Chidi Nwambuzo said the suspects Ibrahim Adamu and Abdullahi Abdul Wahab were arrested in military uniforms in Ekpoma by operatives while acting on credible information. The suspect, he stated, attacked the driver of an unregistered C300 Mercedes-Benz car in Sapele, Delta State, and snatched the car from him and also forced him to transfer 400,000 naira to their account. According to the police spokesman, the suspects were meant to take the car to Abuja and sell it when they were arrested by the police in Ekpoma, Edo State. Nwabuzo said the vehicle and military uniform were also recovered from the suspects. The suspect both confessed to the crime. President-elect Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Wednesday afternoon left Nigeria for Europe on a working visa. He said a statement from his media aide Tunde Rahman said Tinubu will use the opportunity of the trip to fine-tune the transition plans and programs and his policy options with some of his key aid without unnecessary pressures and distractions. The statement said during the visit, the president-elect will engage with investors and other key allies with the goal of marketing investment opportunities in the country and his administration's readiness to enable a business-friendly climate through policies and regulations. It added that Tinubu hopes to convince Europe business community of Nigerians' readiness to do business under his leadership through mutually beneficial partnerships premised on jobs creation and skills acquisition. Before he left the country, the president-elect met with the House of Representatives candidate for Speaker and Deputy Speaker endorsed by his party, the All Progressive Congress, Tajuddin Abbas and Benjamin Kalu, who were presented to him by Joint Tax Team of the House. Meanwhile, President Muhammadu Buhari will stay in London for dental treatment. The president is in the United Kingdom since last week for the coronation of King Charles III, but decided to extend his stay by a week at the instance of his dentist, who has already started attending to him. He was scheduled to return to Nigeria this week, but will now stay on. Special advisor to the president on media and publicity, Femi Adesina, in a statement said the specialist requires to see the president in another 5 days for a procedure already commenced. The president's extended stay has sparked criticism from some at home, where many believed that he should prioritize domestic issues, including its security challenges. Since coming to office in 2015, President Muhammadu Buhari has traveled to the UK on several occasions for undisclosed medical reasons. He is scheduled to hand over to President-elect Bola Tinubu on May 29. You're watching News Update on Trust TV. Coming up, we'll take a look at new lease of life by Almajiri pupils to survive. Details on this and more after the break. Stay with us.
As part of efforts to support Africa's goal of strengthening.
Now looking at the activity chart, as you can see right here, a total volume of 130.
A Boko Haram crisis that at that time was restricted to Yobe.
How secured are they? You can see security men with blood.
This is the road leading up to the...
Already, if you look at English squad, you are looking at EPL, you are looking at their names. You are not looking at...
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Trust TV News Update. And here is a recap of our top stories. We brought you Presidential Election Tribunal dismisses petition against President-elect Bola Tinubu. And Nigeria Immigration Service blames CBN for passport scarcity. Now moving on to more stories, a federal high court in Abuja on Wednesday gave an order of perpetual injunction restraining the National Broadcasting Commission, NBC, from imposing fines henceforth on broadcast stations in the country. Justice James Omotosho, in a judgment, also set aside the 500,000 naira fines imposed on March 1st, 2019 on each of the 45 broadcast stations. Justice Omotosho held that the NBC, not being a court of law, had no power to impose sanctions as punishment on broadcast stations. He further held that the NBC Code, which gives the Commission the power to impose sanctions, is in conflict with Section 6 of the Constitution that vested judicial power in the court of law. He said that the Commission did not comply with the law when it sat as a complainant, and at the same time the court and the judge on its own matter. The judge agreed that the Nigerian Broadcasting Code, being a subsidiary legislation that empowers an administrative body such as the NBC to enforce its provisions, cannot confer judicial powers on the Commission to impose criminal sanctions or penalties such as fines. Almajiri students in Katsina are finding a new lease of life by enrolling in formal schools while attending the Quranic school where they are begging to survive. For years, the Almajiri system has been a controversial issue in Nigeria, with many children forced to leave their homes and families to attend Islamic schools where they are left to fend for themselves. Jamil Mabai visits their school and sends in this report.
Aminu Lawal leading his classmates in prayer to mark the end of the morning Quranic session as part of a 13-hour daily Islamic traditional schooling system called Madarasa. He was brought to this Madarasa by his father 4 years ago under the care of his teacher Mujitaba. According to recent statistics, Nigeria has the highest number of out-of-school children in the world, with over 10 million children out of school. In Katsina State alone, there are over 1.5 million out-of-school children, with a significant number of them being Almajiri students. The Almajiri form of education is a traditional Islamic system of education that involves sending young boys to live with Islamic scholars to learn the Quran and the Islamic teachings. In the recent times, the system has been abused, with many Almajiri students forced to beg on the streets to survive, while their education suffers. But now there is a glimmer of hope for these students. An initiative was launched to integrate Almajiri students into the formal education system. Under the program, Almajiri students are enrolled in schools where they receive formal education alongside the Islamic teachings. These children are like any other children. They deserve to be properly integrated into the society. We decided on a particular school to pick and test our initiative by enrolling them. Aminu wants to learn English language so he can become a doctor, while 15-year-old Ahmad wants to work at a company. I want to learn English language and become a doctor or a soldier. I prefer to do office work in a company. What interests me the most about our school are the teachers, because they are kind and they explain things to us easily. Despite their poor background, they remain active during classes. The initiative is changing the narrative by providing these students with a safe and conducive learning environment. Begging to eat is their biggest impediment to actualizing their dream. Going to school with an empty stomach with no shoes, these children are determined to learn despite the glaring economic cost. Jamilu Mabai, reporting for Trust TV News, Katsina.
National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, has urged Nigerians to obey warnings on the impending flood by the Nigerian Meteorological Department, saying it will go a long way in reducing the impact of flooding in the country. The head of operatives, the National Emergency Management Agency, NEMA, in Ekiti and Ondo State, Kadiri Olarewaju, called on the residents in Ekiti State to take precautionary measures against flooding predicted to occur in the state and its environs this year. Olarewaju said the forecast by relevant agencies had named Ekiti among the states expected to experience flooding based on increased volume of rainfall. The NEMA boss disclosed this during a roadshow on flood sensitization and awareness at Ojabisi, Ojaoba and Fayoshe markets in Ado-Ekiti. In his remarks, the General Manager, State Emergency Management Agency, SEMA, Jide Borode, advised traders to shun the habit of dumping refuse in the drains, while the Director, Ekiti State Fire Service, Andrew Famosaya, urged residents to shun illegal falling of trees, but rather to develop the habits of planting of trees to stop deforestation, which could lead to flooding. The 2023 Islamic Development Bank ISBD annual meeting have been flagged up in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia at the King Abdullah Congress Center. Salim Omar Ibrahim, who is in Jeddah, reports that the annual meeting is bringing together delegations from the group's 57 member countries, in addition to observers from regional and international organizations, to discuss development issues and institutional matters from 10th to 13th May. While dignitaries and participants will hold closed-door meetings with the ISDB Group Boards, General Assembly of Federation of Consultants from Islamic countries, among others. The 2023 annual meeting's official opening ceremony is expected to be held on Thursday. And now from the international scene, Tunisia authorities on Wednesday launched an investigation into a shooting spree by a police officer that claimed 5 lives and sparked mass panic during a Jewish pilgrimage at Africa's oldest synagogue. Security forces threw a tight cordon around the site of Derba Island as officials probed whether Tuesday's shooting were a random killing spree or an anti-Semitic terrorist attack. The police officer first killed a colleague and took his ammunition, then went to the Greba synagogue and opened fire, sparking terror on the final day of the annual pilgrimage. Wearing his uniform and a bulletproof vest, he shot dead 2 visitors and injured 2 more. In the ensuing gun battle, he also wounded 6 police officers, 2 of whom later died, hospital sources said. The assailant was then shot dead himself, the Interior Ministry said, without identifying him. The killing spree was Tunisia's first deadly attack on foreigners since 2015 and the first to target the Greba pilgrimage since a suicide truck bombing killed 21 people in 2002. And lastly, in sports, world record holder Tobi Amusan of Nigeria will headline the 100-meter hurdles event at the Racers Great Prix, which makes its return to Jamaica's National Stadium on June 3rd in what is expected to be an afternoon of world-class track and field events. Amusan has raced at the only 2 meets so far this outdoor season, but is ranked number 7 in the world with a season's best 12.59 seconds set at the Tom Jones Invitational in Florida in mid-April. 7 athletes are so far confirmed for the event, including Jamaicans Megan Tapper, the Olympic Games bronze medalist, World Under-20 champion Kerika Hill, and Crystal Morrison, while American Tia Jones, who ran 12.44 seconds at the recent Drake Relays, is the second-ranked sprint hurdler now. The schedule sees 2 heats for the 100-meter hurdles, with the final set of 8:20 p.m. And with that, we've come to the end of Trust TV News Update. Do not forget to follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Sumaya Abubakar. Thanks for watching.